They all chuckled when he wept. My dad smirked. He's just a boy, he'll move on. And my mom, bless her heart, raised her wine glass and quipped, "Theatrics are in our genes." My 10-year-old son sat there, eyes glistening with unshed tears, his hands balled into fists under the table. No one reached out to him, not his grandparents, not his aunts or uncles, not even my shining sister who sparked it all with a vicious jab at his stammer. I watched him, trying to absorb his hurt like a dam holds back a river. But he was faster, he stood. "I'll never forget this," he declared, voice trembling but clear enough to slice through every grin in the room. Silence fell. "My name is Eli Pierce, and from wherever you're hearing this, stay with me. Because sometimes the quietest voice can trigger the loudest reckoning. Have you ever seen your child humiliated while your whole family laughed like it was a comedy show? Because I did, last night, and I stayed silent, for now." We were gathered around the grand mahogany table at my parents' mansion, a lavish dinner to toast family milestones. My dad had just sealed a major deal. My sister, Clara, landed a promotion. And my son, Eli. He got mocked for stumbling over congratulations. They laughed, they roared. My brother-in-law even recorded it, muttering, "Pure gold." Eli's eyes, full of trust only I'd earned, begged, "Why aren't you stopping them, Dad?" I didn't budge. I didn't speak, because true, deep, lasting retribution demands patience. It demands calm before the chaos. That night after dinner, I tucked Eli into bed in the guest suite. His voice was rough. "I'm done with family gatherings," he whispered. "I know, buddy," I said, kissing his brow. "You won't have to come back." I walked down the long corridor of the house I was raised in, a place that taught me to stay quiet, to be courteous, to swallow disgrace with a smile and a sip of wine. No more, because what my family didn't know was that I'd been plotting for over a year, and they'd just given me the perfect excuse to act. By sunrise, my parents' legacy would start to crumble, from within. Like an apple that looks flawless until you press it, and your fingers sink into rot. Just wait. I didn't sleep. I sat by the guest room window, watching moonlight spill across Eli's small face. He slept at last, clutching the stuffed bear my late wife gave him, the only thing left with her faint scent. He'd be safe soon. Far from these people who wore their malice like cologne. At 5 a.m. I entered my dad's study. Same oak desk from the 90s, same locked drawer, but I knew the code. My mom's birthday, naturally. Inside were bank documents, power of attorney forms, and the revised will, the one I was meant to co-sign months ago, granting them access to Eli's trust fund for family needs. I never signed. Instead, I copied everything. Then I opened my phone, launched the app my parents forgot I created, Trust Vault. They still used it to store sensitive PDFs, family agreements, tax records. I still had admin access. And now I had all I needed, because when they shamed my son, they didn't just cross a boundary. They ignited a spark under a foundation I'd already weakened. At 7 a.m., I made one call. "Jessica, start the private audit. Release the trustee files to the law firm. And send the clip." She paused. "The video of your nephew mocking Eli?" "Yes," I said. "Send it to every partner and the board." "You sure you want to destroy them, Jordan?" I glanced out the window at my dad, sipping coffee by the pool in his robe, humming a tune. "They buried me for years," I murmured. "It's time they feel the weight." By 9 a.m. the storm had begun. My dad's phone rang first, then Clara's. Then the estate's landline went wild like it was 1995. What they didn't know was that while they mocked my son's stammer, the trust fund they thought they owned, the inheritance they siphoned from my late wife's estate, it was already in Eli's name, untouchable, their access revoked. By a legal clause I'd added the day they first tried to seize it. Then the real chaos hit. The audit exposed shady dealings. My dad's company stock halted, his premium accounts flagged, Clara's bonus canceled. Turns out when your firm gets a video of you ridiculing a child with a speech issue, clients vanish fast. I stood in the kitchen as my mom stormed in, barefoot, flushed. "What have you done?" I sipped my coffee and smiled. "Just teaching Eli what standing tall looks like." Her voice broke. "You do this to your own blood." I leaned closer. "You did it first." Then I walked out, back to my son, back to a future they no longer owned. In that moment, the house that raised me felt smaller than the man I'd become. The phones kept ringing, echoing through the mansion like a frantic pulse. Landlines, cell phones, alerts piling up. I made breakfast as if nothing was wrong. Eli liked his eggs runny, toast golden, strawberries sliced. He ate quietly, still in the oversized sweatshirt he slept in. His eyes were brighter today. But I saw the walls forming, the ones I built at his age, stone by stone. I wouldn't let him finish them. "You okay, bud?" I asked. He nodded, chewing slowly. You didn't shout at them. Didn't need to, I said. Sometimes silence speaks louder than yelling. He tilted his head, curious. Are they in trouble? I smiled. They're learning what happens when you hurt someone who's been quiet too long. By the time we stepped outside, the house felt like a fading dynasty. My dad was on the phone in his study, yelling at lawyers who were already outmaneuvered. My mom was sobbing in the sunroom, clutching a glass of Pinot and blaming online haters. Clara, she was hunched on a patio chair, scrolling, deleting posts, trying to scrub her online presence. But the video had gone viral. Cruelty lingers longer than kindness, especially when it's recorded. At noon, I took Eli for a drive, not just to escape, but to start anew. The nonprofit stood proud downtown, nestled between skyscrapers and gritty alleys. Bright Path Center for Kids with speech challenges. I'd funded it quietly after my wife passed. Never told my family. It wasn't for them, it was for Eli. And now it was his. I unlocked the doors, flipped on the lights, and handed him the key. This is yours now, I said softly. Your mom and I built it for kids who feel like you did last night. He stared at the key. But I'm just a kid. I knelt down. Exactly, and one day another kid will walk in here, scared and alone, and your name will be on the door that welcomes them. He didn't cry. He didn't smile. He just nodded, like something deep inside him understood. When we returned to the estate, the silence was different. No more calls, no more shouting, just three people sitting in a room full of consequences they never expected. My dad didn't look up. My mom barely met my gaze. Clara started to speak, then stopped. Her voice, always the sharpest, now quivered like a leaf in a storm. I said nothing. I handed them an envelope. Inside, a printed declaration, my complete withdrawal from the family trust, forfeiting any claim to the estate, cutting all ties, and attached a photo, me, Eli, and his mom, smiling before everything, a note scrawled beneath it, he won't forget. Neither will I. Then I walked away. Because sometimes retribution isn't about destruction. Sometimes it's leaving people to decay in the ruins they created, with all the doors locked. I didn't expect them to follow, but guilt is a wild creature. It doesn't fade quietly, it thrashes claws, begs for forgiveness from those it hurt most. 3 hours after I delivered the letter, my dad appeared at my apartment. No driver, no designer watch, just him, alone, sweating through a polo shirt. He buzzed 3 times, I didn't answer. He waited, sat on the building steps like a stranger outside a life he no longer owned. I watched from the window. Eli was in his room, headphones on, sketching. I opened the door, he stood slowly. Can we talk? I stepped aside but stayed silent. He entered, looking around like the place was foreign, too real, too honest. This is where you live. For now. He scanned the room. No polished floors, no chandeliers, just warmth, toys scattered, soft lights. Walls covered with crayon drawings and old photos pinned with care, not arrogance. He sat at the table. I didn't mean for last night to go so far. No, I said. You just meant to laugh at a 10-year-old. He flinched. I didn't laugh. Your mom did, Clara. You didn't stop them. I leaned forward. You taught me silence means consent. His mouth opened, then shut. The man who once dominated boardrooms, who silenced crowds with a glance, now scrambling for words like a kid caught lying. I worked my whole life to protect this family. I made sacrifices, gave you a life. I nodded. You gave us wealth, but you served it with shame. He looked away. Why now? He asked. Why ruin everything over a joke? I pulled out my phone, showed the video. Eli red-faced, Clara laughing, the rest of them cheering her on, and my dad smirking. I paused it. You see a joke, I said. I see my son being taught he's less. He was silent. You raised me to be strong, right? Tough. A man provides, protects. I leaned closer. I am protecting, just not you. His voice dropped. You've humiliated me in front of everyone. I smiled. Now you know how Eli felt. He stood, eyes blazing, jaw tight. I built an empire, Jordan. I walked to the door, opened it. Then you should have built a heart to match it. He walked out but turned back. I've lost you, haven't I? No, I said softly. You gave me away long ago, you just didn't see it. I closed the door, locked it. Eli emerged moments later, rubbing his eyes. Was that Grandpa? I knelt. Not anymore, he nodded, and just like that, our family tree shed its rotten branches. Sometimes to grow, you must cut away what poisons you, even if it feels like home. The story should have ended there, but people like my mom, they don't fade quietly. They stage their downfall like a performance. Tears, manipulation, messages crafted for the right audience. 3 days later, the calls began. Hey, I heard you're suing the family over money. Then a text from a distant cousin. Mom says Eli's in therapy because of you. Lie after lie. woven like silk but laced with poison. I didn't reply, I didn't need to. Instead, I released something else. A single email from my mom sent 6 months ago. Subject, Ray, Eli's speech issue may be a boarding school in Europe. No need to keep him here once the will is sorted. I hid nothing. I attached the will, her handwritten notes in red, and I posted it anonymously, with the video, to a private group for local business leaders and donors. By noon, the consequences hit. Her charity board dropped her. Her social club shunned her. She went viral, not as the graceful Pierce matriarch, but as the woman who mocked her grandson's disability over wine. The next day, she appeared outside Eli's school. Sunglasses, scarf like shame, had a uniform. I stepped out of the car before Eli saw her. "You're not welcome here," I said. Her voice shook. "I didn't know the email would. Jordan, please, I'm still your mother." "You were," I said, "before you chose to trade your grandson for control." She reached out. "What do you want from me?" I met her eyes, steady. "Nothing. That's what you gave him that night. That's what you get back." Then I turned, walked Eli inside, and didn't look back. That evening, Clara messaged me. "I know you hate me, but Mom's falling apart. She hasn't eaten in days." She's scared to go outside. I stared at the screen. Then typed, "Good, maybe she'll learn what hiding feels like." Block. That weekend, Eli and I painted the living room walls ocean blue. He wanted stars, too. I let him. He painted a bright yellow one in the center and wrote Dad inside it. "Why?" I asked. "Because you said I shine," he replied, "even when they tried to dim me." I had to turn away to breathe. Because this revenge wasn't just punishment, it was protection. Proof that even when the world tries to quiet you, you can teach your child to roar. On Monday, a thick envelope arrived. Gold crest. The same Pierce family stationery used for galas, announcements, and now, apparently, apologies. Inside, a card. "Family matters are best resolved with dignity. We hope you'll reconsider before this is permanent." No signature. Just a check, $500,000, a bribe. A surrender flag woven from dirty money. I laughed. This was their way. Silence was purchased. Guilt was negotiated. Love, that came with strings and dollar signs. I snapped a photo of the check. Then burned it in the sink. Eli watched the flames consume their offer. "You're not taking it?" he asked. "No," I said. "They still think we can be bought." His eyes gleamed with something fierce. Pride. Later that day, we visited the Bright Path Center. It was quiet. Staff were training, preparing for the soft opening. I handed Eli a small box. Inside, a silver nameplate, the Eli Room, a space for kids like him, for art, for voice, for strength. He held it like it was priceless. "This is really mine." "Always was," I said. "They just couldn't see it." That night, the local news ran a story. Founder gift center to son after family feud goes public. "He deserves a world that hears him." The article spread. Parents reached out. Kids connected. Teachers offered help. A wave of something new began, respect. Back at the estate, the Pierce name had turned toxic. My dad's firm faced a petition. Partners stepped away. My mom's face, once splashed across gala invites, was gone, replaced by memes and angry threads. But the worst came quietly. A letter from their attorney. "Mr. Jordan Pierce, you are hereby removed from the family estate board and legal affairs. Return any personal items acquired through family assets." I stared at the paper. Then replied, "Done, but I'm keeping my name, and he's keeping his." I signed it not with regards, not sincerely, just a father. Because that's who I became when they stopped being family. Not their pawn, not their successor. A father, to the boy they tried to shatter. And in the silence that followed, I swear I heard the house groan, as if even its walls carried shame. The voicemail came at 2:14 a.m. I let it ring. Then another, and another. 14 missed calls by dawn. Clara's voice, raw, broke through the speaker. "They froze Mom's accounts, the foundation's under scrutiny. Dad had a panic attack. He's in the hospital. Are you satisfied now? Are you proud?" I stood in Eli's doorway, watching him sleep, his breathing steady and calm. Proud? No. But I was done apologizing for shielding my son from wolves in silk and polished loafers. That morning, I visited the hospital. Not for them, for closure. My dad was in a private room, tubes in his chest, monitors humming. Clara stood when she saw me. "You came," she whispered, eyes swollen, makeup streaked. "Not for you." My dad blinked, weak, silent. The titan in him muted by a reality he never anticipated. One where power wasn't inherited, only earned, and he'd never earned mine. "I came," I said, "because Eli deserves to know I faced you when you fell." My dad tried to speak. No words came, just a look, half guilt, half disbelief, that the boy he raised to stay quiet had become the man who raised their kingdom. Clara stepped forward. "We're still your family." I turned. "No, you're my blood." That's not the same. I walked out. On the drive home, Eli texted, "Can we go to the center after school? I want to finish the mural." I replied, "Of course, I'll bring your paints." We did. That afternoon, with sunlight streaming through the windows, Eli added the final strokes. It was a vast wall half the room. He'd painted a tree, its trunk split and hollow at the roots. But one lone branch stretched outward, vibrant and strong, with a swing hanging from it. I stared. "You made this," he nodded. "The tree is them," he said. "But the swing, that's me. You built that swing." For the first time in years, I cried. Not from pain, from relief. Because revenge isn't just about tearing down, it's about building something stronger in its place. Justice that outlasts rage, love that endures the flames. We held the Bright Path Center's grand opening on a Sunday. Eli wore a navy jacket, his hair slightly tousled, the way he liked it. He gripped my hand tighter than usual. Dozens of families came. Kids with bright eyes, soft voices, hesitant steps. But when they saw the colors, the murals, the warm light, they smiled, like he had. One by one they entered, and the air changed, not pity, not handouts, dignity. Reporters asked the usual, "Why now? Why this? Is this about your family?" I looked at Eli, then said, "This is about a boy who was told he'd get over it, but he grew through it." Applause filled the room. My phone buzzed mid-speech. A message from my dad's lawyer: the Pierce estate is being liquidated, assets seized, investigations confirmed. One line at the bottom: they want to see Eli. One last time, I set the phone down. They had years to see him. They chose mockery. Money, pride, now they could choose silence. After the event, Eli raced through the halls, showing other kids the Eli room. He handed out crayons, stickers, even hugs. One little girl whispered, "I talk weird too." He grinned. "That's awesome. You should teach me." Outside, the sky burned gold. I stood beneath the mural he painted, that broken tree, that single swing. Eli joined me, staring at it. "Do you think they miss us?" he asked. "Maybe," I said. "But missing us isn't changing." He nodded, thoughtful. The kind of wisdom no child should have, but he carried it with grace. Then he reached into his backpack and handed me a folded drawing. It was us, on the swing together. In the corner he wrote, "We didn't fall, we soared." I knelt, held him close, and whispered, "You saved us." "You saved me too," he said, smiling into my chest. "I know." That night, on our balcony, we watched the stars. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel anger, or resentment, or vengeance, just whole, full of love, of freedom, of a peace no fortune could buy, because in the end, this wasn't just revenge, it was renewal.